Hey guys, Anisu here, and today we will talk about Timbersaw. Timbersaw is a strength melee hero. He's usually been played in the offlane, but he can also be played as a mid hero. Every spell of Timbersaw is considered pure damage. This allows him to deal huge amounts of burst damage in a short amount of time. Timbersaw is really survivable, especially in the laning phase. So if you have trouble playing the lane, if your support leaves to gank, Timbersaw is the hero to learn. This hero can 1v2 and still win the lane.
I'm Rizrat, don't touch me!
On level 1 you usually want to take Timber Chain. You can use Timber Chain to get last hits, but also as an escape. If you are playing against double melee strength lane, you can take Whirling Death level 1 instead of Timber Chain. Level 2 and 3, you want to take Reactive Armor most games. But if you feel like you have aggressive potential, you can also take your Whirling Death level 2, just to have more nuke potential. But especially if you're just learning Timbersaw, I would advise take Reactive Armor level 2 and 3. Then on level 4 we take the Whirling Death, and then we max Reactive Armor first, taking Ultimate at level 6. Afterwards we'll max Timber Chain. In the game that you're watching right now, I took a second point in Timber Chain early on, just so I have longer range to escape from heroes such as Ursa and Marcy that have pretty good chase potential. But usually I only take 1 point in Timber Chain. For the talent tree I would recommend the health talent at level 10 most games, but you can also choose the mana regen talent if you feel like the enemies are lacking a lot of early game damage, just to ramp up your farm and get your items more quickly. At level 15 I always take the spell amplification. Amplifying your pure damage spells is insane. For the level 20 talent, both talents are really good and viable, but I feel like if you're allowed to take the Chakram slow, this talent is insane. But if you need more HP to survive fights, then definitely go for the strength talent. At level 25, always go for the Whirling Death talent.
I cut things, it's what I do! What else would I do?
For Timber starting items, we want to buy one set of Tangos, Quelling Blade for easier last hitting, Ring of Protection and Gauntlets of Strength that we will build into Soul Ring, and a Mango so we have a little bit more HP regen and also can use some more spells. For the early game items, we want to buy Magic Wand, Soul Ring, Arcane Boots every single game. And then if you want, you can choose between Vanguard or Hood. In some games you can even build both of them. Usually the enemies will build Spirit Vessel against Timbersaw, so that's why we need any form of this spell, being either Yule's or Lotus Orb. Afterwards we want to build Sergeant Kaya. This will increase our mana pool by a lot and also give us way more HP regen with the passive. Then we buy an Aghanim's Shard. This allows us to chase enemies really easy with the additional slow and also siege enemy buildings. For the late game items we can disassemble the Sergeant Kaya and the Vanguard, if you build one, into a Bloodstone. If you choose to build Bloodstone, I would advise building Aghanim's. If you don't build the Bloodstone, then I would not advise building in Aghanim's. You can also just go for the Hex or the BKB right away, depending on the game. Also some situational items that you can buy are Overwhelming Blink, Diva's Guard, Heart, or if you have a really bad game, then Pipe or Grease.
Trees? What do you mean there's trees out there?
When playing Timbersaw, you need to realize that your main goal in the laning stage is just to not die. Your hero becomes a god when you hit level 6, but he is actually pretty bad before level 6. You start to get quite tanky once you get some levels of reactive armor, but the aggressive potential of your hero is not that high, and your main goal is to just get through the laning stage. You will bully the enemies out once you hit level 6, but before that, don't play too risky, just try to farm up creeps, don't overextend. One of the most important things on Timbersaw is to always keep maximum stacks of your reactive armor. You can do that by right-clicking an enemy hero and drawing aggro from the creeps. This way the creeps will attack you, giving you bonus armor and bonus HP regen. When there's no enemy in your lane, you can even click onto enemies on the other part of the map. You will still draw aggro, and this way if enemies gank you, they have a really hard time killing you when you're at max reactive stacks. Once you hit level 6, you will get your ultimate Chakram. This is by far your strongest spell early on. The Chakram itself will deal pass damage every time it passes through an enemy, and then also dealing damage per second when they stay in the Chakram. So always throw the Chakram and then insta-pull it back if you want to harass enemies. This way they get the pass damage dealt twice. So this will instantly remove 220 HP from the enemies every 8 seconds. Once they become low, you can Timber Chain onto them and then kill them with another Chakram and Whirling Death. Also, it is very important to understand that the lower HP the enemies have, the more they get slowed by your Chakram. One of Timbersaw's biggest strengths is playing around the siege waves. The siege waves spawn at minute 5 and minute 10. Once you hit level 5, you can then tank the enemy tower if you have maximum stacks of reactive armor, and then just get the tower with the siege creep together. Keep in mind you can right click an enemy hero even on the other side of the map to get the tower aggro. This way your creeps won't die and it's more easy for you to take the tower quickly. Another thing I like to do a lot on Timbersaw is to grab the enemy creep wave and to pull it into a neutral camp. This way you can use all your AoE abilities to farm up the neutral camps and the lane creeps together. This way you will get more gold in less amount of time while also spending less mana. After taking the enemy safe lane tower, you try to look to rotate to another lane most of the time. Either to push the enemy mid tower or to defend your own safe lane tower, whatever the situation in the game calls for. Timbersaw likes to participate into early fights just because of his early power spike. Also, his whole kit of spells makes it very easy to defend your towers against multiple enemies without the risk of you dying. Try to combine all your spells together. Most of the time you want to start to throw out the Chakram and then you want to Timber Chain through the enemies while using your Whirling Death, and then you want to pull back the Chakram. Don't just randomly throw your spells onto an enemy, try to combo them in a way that all of them hit the enemies at once. This will make it very hard for the enemies to react to your burst damage. Timbersaw is a pretty tanky hero. You always try to be in the middle of the fight to soak some of the enemy's spells, but be careful not to die. Also, it is very important that you keep track of your reactive stacks. Always try to use your Timber Chain to kite in and out of the fight without dying. It will probably take you a few games to understand how the reactive armor affects your tankiness as Timbersaw. Try not to overextend too hard in your first few Timbersaw games. Better play a little bit more safe, because dying on this hero a few times is really punishing. You want to try to avoid dying at all costs. One of Timbersaw's biggest power spikes is your level 15 damage talent combined with Sergeant Kaya. If you can pick up any form of spell amplification as a neutral item, that's even better. This hero starts to deal insane amount of damage with the amplifications because all your spells are pure damage. They don't get reduced by any form of magic damage reduction whatsoever. A lot of the time the enemies will definitely underestimate your damage and then just lose half their HP in a second. This makes Timbersaw one of the scariest heroes in the mid game. One of Timbersaw's biggest weaknesses used to be that he can't break the enemy high ground easy. But after the addition of the Aghanim's shard, Timbersaw is actually really good at sieging high ground. He gets this new ability called Flamethrower. This makes it very easy for Timbersaw to siege enemy high grounds. Definitely make use out of this ability. It is also a pretty good ability to just kill enemies with this slow and additional damage. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something. If you have managed to get this far into the video, feel free to post down your favorite voice line of Timbersaw in the comments. Have a nice day, boys. See you.